Hey, what's poppin', sexies? It's your boy here, back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and we're going to be doing another one of those discussion videos. Yeah, I know you guys love those. So today we're going to be doing an updated top 10 units in the game list. I did one of these earlier with Levin and Promise, but obviously quite some time has passed since then, so that video is not really as up-to-date as I'd like it to be. So I thought, why not? Let's just hop right in and do another top 10 units in the game list. And today I am joined by my good friend Oblivion.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Oblivion from the The0blivionknight channel, and I'm so glad to finally be on this channel. I'm a big fan of shows. I've been watching you pretty much since the beginning, I'm pretty sure.
Since the beginning, really? That's like when the game came out, like 2017.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was on Game FAQs or Game Facts. I was talking to you, and you talked about channel, so I immediately subscribed and started watching.
Wow, that's a throwback. Okay, so I mean, a lot of my early videos I had to take down because they got copyright claimed. Like, during the first year of the game, they actually had a copyright claim on the intro music. So
really?
Yeah, I had to take down a lot of my early videos because they were all just like copyright claimed. Obviously,
that's nuts. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I mean, they made it a lot better now, so that's not really happening anymore. But yeah, I mean, times were tough back then. Being on YouTube in 2017, can't even play the intro music to Fire Emblem.
That's I can't believe they actually did that.
Yeah, Nintendo's quite stingy, to be honest. I don't know if stingy is the right word, but you know, Nintendo gotta be Nintendo. Alright, so pleasantries aside, we got a top 10 list here. Now, me and Oblivion both came up with our own separate lists here, and surprise, surprise, 8 out of our 10 units on top 10 ended up sharing a spot. And then I've got 2 different units, and he's got 2 different units. So we're going to start this discussion off by talking about the units that we have shared on our lists, and I think the first one we're going to talk about here is Brave Hector. Not really too many introductions needed for him. If you guys play Summoner Duels, you probably already know everything you need to know about him. Now, Oblivion also grouped Hector in together with Ascended Edun, which is something I probably should have did myself, but I just had Hector in by himself. But they're pretty much interchangeable. There's not too much difference between them. Of course, each one does certain things better than the other. But the main takeaway from them is that both of them are blue armored units. Both of them are very good at near saving or far saving. They negate effective against armors, which is super clutch. They're really great at using Hardy Fighter or any of the other good fighter skills. Hector, in particular, has -6 to attack and defense on the foe. He's got -1 special trigger, which is awesome. He can hit pretty hard with bonfires if you give him special fighter, or you could just have him counterattack anybody with Ostian counter and give him the Hardy Fighter, Deflect Magic, or Deflect Missile combo with Aegis. The amount of builds that these two can run is just, like, out of control. They're very versatile. They're very solid tanks. Some people have even taken to running DD4 on Hector now so that he doesn't have the counterattack against Atri, which can totally help out in that matchup. So, Oblivion, what are your thoughts on Brave Hector right now?
Brave Hector is just like one of those units who refuses to die. Like, I can't believe he's still this good, and it's been, 3 years since his release? And it just comes down to, like, what you said. He's so versatile, and his weapon is so overloaded and busted that he just doesn't have very many weaknesses at all. And one of the big things is that, like, special cooldown reduction. It just allows you to run, like, so many different builds, like, offensively and defensively, especially with the Hardy Fighter. We've gone from a Sephiorm. I think it, like, kind of pushed him to even another level, especially in SDR or SDS.
Yeah, exactly. And Summoner Duels S, like, is S the one where you have, like, 5 separate teams? I can't remember if that's S or R.
Yeah, it's the one where you have the vetoes.
Yeah, so in that particular mode, it's really good to have Hector and Edun, so you basically have a backup copy in case they veto the team that has the other, right? So, like, certainly a lot of merit.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, certainly a lot of merit to having both of them on the top 10 list. And looking back, I probably should have did the same thing. But Hector, I mean, he's all reliable. There's not really many weaknesses to him. Not too many units can just bust through him. He's super solid, and save skills on that guy are one of the most annoying things to deal with.
I think IS was like pretty much like they saw how good Brave Hector was doing. They're like, we should just print a new one so we can make some money off of it. And that's kind of what they did with the Thune.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, oh, Brave Hector, you guys like him? How about Brave Hector 2, Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. So coming in at number 2. Okay, this is where things get a little interesting. So both of us have Hatari Azura as our dancer in top 10, but then we both of us grouped her together with another dancer, and Oblivion grouped her with Duo Peony, while I grouped her with Plegian Dorothea. So quite a little bit of gap between those two, but Hatari Azura, as far as she goes, I mean, who thought that a cavalry dancer with gray waves was okay, right? Like, I mean, she has gray waves. She moves 3 spaces herself. I think the icing on the cake, though, is that after she dances, all adjacent allies get +6 to all stats. That's like where things get a little bit too far. I don't really think she needed to have that, because she would have been good regardless. But I totally get why they threw it in, just to go with the thematics of Legendary Azura doing basically the same thing. But like, having +6 to all stats with a dance, with gray waves, with cavalry movement, you're free to give her trace skills, and then her harmonic skill is also the 2-range dance effect to allies from the same titles. So Ninja Corrin, anybody? You want to take 3 actions with her in a turn? Then be my guest. So Hatari Azura is nutty.
She's just completely broken. When I saw her, I was like, oh, we're in trouble already. Like, anytime you see a new Azura coming out, it's usually like a bad sign. But the fact that they put her on a horse was just like, oh, they just took it to a whole new level. And if you play like SDS or SDR competitively, you're going to see this unit a lot. And that's because how good she is. Like you were saying, that's +6 to all stats to every unit around like her it's phenomenal. It can really like make it just difficult to like break through.
Yeah, especially when you're like balling your units around a save unit. You could just give the attacker +6 to everything and the save unit +6 to everything in one go. It's really strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so now similar to what Hatari Azura, what she does with the 2-range dance on the duo skill, that's kind of the reason why I have Plegian Dorothea in the same bracket as her, because like, if you're playing in Summoner Duels and the map is not particularly kind to cavalry units, I feel like the flyers always shine in those situations, because all of the map hazards and obstacles that would hinder cavalry mobility don't really do anything to flyers at all. So it's pretty interchangeable for me if I'm going to run Azura or Dorothea, and Dorothea's double range dance with the duo skill on characters from 3 houses. I mean, you guys think there are any good units from that game? Let me know. Like, I think, and not only 3 houses, but then genealogy as well. So like Sigurd gets the 2-range dance.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh man,
Dorothea, I feel like her value with that 2-range dance is so good in Summoner Duels, and there's been a lot of situations where I feel like I can just trade 1-for-1s with my opponent, and we're getting KOs. Like, I get a KO, they get a KO back, and we just keep going back and forth. And then once we get to the end, I just end up coming out on top, because I have the dancer that can dance twice with duo skill. So I can just double dance a unit and get 2 KOs and go for the win right there. So that's how a lot of matches end up going for me when I run either Azura or Dorothea. I can just trade up and then get to the end where I can pop a whole bunch of dances and win the game. So, Oblivion, you have Peony grouped up with Azura. Why is that?
Okay, so the reason why I like Duo Peony so much is because of her preference stance. I love like the orders buff she can give. It's so powerful, and especially like Summoner Duels or even Ether Raids, like just the ability to jump around and stuff is so good. Like a lot of times you'll be in that situation where they like put an enemy unit into your range and you need to put someone in front of them, and just being able to dance somebody else and then have your tank jump in front is so good and so invaluable.
Yeah, okay, so a little behind the scenes. I focus my list primarily on Summoner Duels, but Oblivion also took Aether Raids into account, and I can totally get why Duo Peony would be on his list if Aether Raids is also a factor, because, I mean, Duo Peony is pretty nuts still in Aether Raids with the... I think what really sells her in there is the 6 attack to allies in the same column. And you could take it a step further and give her cross spur attack if you manage to get a spare Regan somehow.
Yeah, I can't wait until that skill actually becomes available, because I think that's going to be amazing, right? Giving like plus 12 attack to just anyone in a row. And if you have like a Brave unit like Duo Corrin or even Duo Lin, right? That's going to be insane.
Yeah, the cross spur attack is 5 attack, right?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it is 5 attack.
Yeah, so 5 attack with Peony's natural 6. That's 11 attack to an ally in the same column. That's kind of gross.
Yeah, it is.
Can you imagine that on a unit like Ninja Corrin who hits possibly 4 times? That's like 44 damage right there.
Oh my gosh. That's not even counting the true damage either. Like, oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, when you combo all of these effects with the Brave attacks and things like that, it starts to get a little out of control. So, I'm totally not knocking Duo Peony. It's just that for my personal playstyle, I feel like the double range dance on the Duo skill is a little better than the one range dance.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Dorothea also has the advantage of like having all those chills in her weapon. That's super good in Summoner Duels. Like being able to hit the person with the highest attack with like -7 attack or speed can like completely like flip matchups.
Yeah. That's actually another thing that I underlook about that unit. I always like play it off, oh, she has chills, whatever. I'm just using her to dance and fly and pop the Duo skill when necessary. But yeah, she also does have that Spectrum chill effect on her weapon, which is quite good.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so next unit on our list, we have Yuri. Do I need to talk about Yuri? You guys already know the deal. Yuri is the most unfun, bullshitty unit ever. Like, I remember when Kanto first came out, and I was telling everybody, oh, dude, Kanto is kind of broken in this game because the maps are so tiny, and units being able to attack and then move away is kind of cheesy, and it's too versatile as well. Like, at the time when Kanto came out, you could essentially mimic legendary Chrom by having a unit reposition and then move again, which I thought was kind of nutty. But then what really drove it home that Kanto was not okay was Summoner Duels. It's like, if the best strategy is to hit and run, and you could just attack the foe and then Kanto away, run away like a coward, then I think Yuri just solidified himself as, I almost want to say he's the best infantry unit in the game.
Oh yeah, I made a video about that, like where Yuri I feel like is probably the best unit in the game because he's just ridiculously versatile. He has amazing support. He can have all kinds of builds to just destroy whatever he wants, and he can do it safely because he has that built-in Kanto. Like, I'm not sure what they were thinking giving ranged units like true Kanto instead of just like a trace, but it's been proven to be like ridiculously strong.
Yeah, I mean, the kicker for me with him is foul play. I love just the positioning antics you can do with foul play, especially in Summoner Duels, is kind of nutty. Like, just out of nowhere, you can swap a unit in 3 spaces ahead, and then if it's a unit that has a lot of reach, like Ninja Corrin or Legendary Sigurd, then you have to worry about them just gaining a whole bunch of movement on you. So it's like, it's really tough to play around Yuri, and he's also the reason why I feel save skills are kind of a must in Summoner Duels, particularly far save. Because if you're playing Summoner Duels and you don't have a far save unit on the team, Yuri is just going to run right through you.
Oh yeah, I've had matches where it was like Yuri and a dancer. That's all I had left. And I could take out almost their whole entire team if I just played correctly. Like, he's so exceptionally powerful. And the thing is too, is he has so much power built into his like kit that he can actually, with lethality, like take out many of the save units, which is just kind of insane when you think about it. Yeah,
I mean, lethality. I can't believe they made lethality inheritable, and like you could give it to units like Yuri and so on. Units that have lethality and Deadeye, I feel like are in a really good spot because, of course, damage reduction is so strong. So being able to just say no to damage reduction and get that free damage in, it's really good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, the thing too about lethality is like it's pretty much like Black Luna with, you know, with Deadeye built into it. So
yeah.
At least Deadeye, if you like stack enough defense, it's like, okay, they can't double their damage, but
yeah,
with lethality, it just like shreds right through you.
Yeah, lethality is one of the strongest, probably the strongest special in the game, I would say.
Probably.
All right, so I mean, speaking of lethality and Deadeye, that brings us to the next unit on our list. So Duo Chrom, or aka Gay Chrom, aka Yaoi Chrom, whatever you want to call this guy. Okay, so when I first saw the trailer and I saw what they gave to this guy, I was pretty awestruck. I thought they made him a lot stronger than he needed to be. So when he uses reposition, mind you, his reposition to change fate is probably the best assist in the game as far as movement is concerned. So you just reposition, which is the most popular movement assist, and then you get a second action afterwards. Already, that's really good, and that would have made him an ageless unit. But they had to take it a step further and also give him a cooldown reduction effect to himself and the ally he repositions. Like, is that good enough? Like, do we need to be able to use reposition and be charging specials at the same time? I don't know if that was really necessary.
When I saw this unit, I was awestruck. I didn't know what they were thinking. Like, Legendary Chrom has still been one of the best units in the game since he's been released, and they just took Legendary Chrom and made him even better. Like, he's not only one of the a best unit in combat, he's also one of the best supports in the game, which is just ridiculous when you put two of those together, because historically, like, usually dancers have been the best supports, but here comes Duo Chrom, and he's just so difficult to deal with. Like, I think if there's anyone who can, like, compete with Yuri for the best infantry in the game, it's Duo Chrom.
Yeah, that's no joke. Like, for real, his support effect, that's the reason why I had him on my list in particular, is because nobody else can reposition, get a second action off of it, and also ramp specials by doing that. So the uniqueness factor with that is why I decided to have him in my top 10. But you look at his combat potential, he has Deadeye instantly charged, essentially. And he's effective against armor, which is, like, one of the two best effective types to have. He's got a guaranteed follow-up for free. Like, I love this. There's no actual effect on it. It's just when he initiates, he gets a guaranteed follow-up. Like, you gotta love that, right?
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know. Like, the other two, like, about Duo Chrom is that the ability to control specials when they actually go off is so powerful, especially in Summoner Duels, right? Because more often than not, you're going to run into party fighters. So being able to control it so that the special goes off on the second hit and it actually, like, hits for full damage it's absurd how good it is.
Yeah, it really is. Now, one other thing about this character, his duo skill, I feel like it's a really interesting one where you're basically giving everybody the Chaos Ragnall effect and then also inflicting some debuffs to go with it. So all your units are at -5 to all stats. But I've personally found his duo skill to really not be the best in most situations. There's a lot of times where I don't really feel like I need to be using it. And in fact, even with the Chaos Ragnall effect, I feel like a couple of my units get hurt by having the minus stats anyway. So his duo skill is really not something that I pop too often, but certainly his reposition is where it's at for him. I think that's where most of his value comes from. What do you think of his duo skill?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's, like, not the best duo skill. Like, it's obviously not, like, on Duo Corrin status or Duo Dagr status. But it is kind of good just in case, like, you do run into those teams that want to, like, inflict a lot of penalties. Then you can kind of pop that and use it against them. But it does have, like, the downside of being weak to AoE. So if you run into, like, a AoE Yuri or, like, a AoE Ascended Joshua, then your defense and resistance might be so low that you just get completely annihilated. So it is something you have to think about using, unlike some other duo skills where it's like you just use it whenever you can.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Duo Dagr, right? So, okay, this brings us to the next unit on the list. Probably the biggest no-brainer on this entire list for me. If I had to pick one unit who would be on top 10, and, like, there's no debate. I don't think anyone is even debating that she should be a top 10. We have Duo Dagr here. Kaboon's magnum opus, by the way. Like, shout outs to Kaboon for that. But, okay, so Duo Dagr, she's a unit that has Pathfinder, right? Now, I was actually talking to Promise and Levin about this earlier. If we ever got a non-mythic hero that had Pathfinder, I thought we were going to be in some deep shit. And not only did they give us that, but they also gave her an effect where she can give everybody else Pathfinder on top of that. So, Duo Dagr may possibly have the best duo skill in the game. I think it's kind of like a toss-up. Duo Dagr's duo skill, Ninja Corrin and Ninja Lin's duo skill, and then the harmonic 2-range dance effect. I think those three are probably the best duo skills overall. What are your thoughts on her duo skill?
Yeah, I completely agree. That's pretty much how I would rank the duo skills in the same way. And that's what I was thinking. When I saw duo Dagr, and I was like, okay, we have a blessable pathfinder unit, which is like, that's bad already. But they made her ranged. And I'm like, are you serious? You made a ranged pathfinder unit? Like, what were you thinking? Like, this unit is so disgustingly toxic. I don't know if toxic is the right word. Powerful. Disgustingly powerful.
Yeah.
In every single game mode. It's ridiculous. She's good in like Ether Ed's defense. And she's the go-to unit when it comes to Summoner Duels. Like, if you ever get to those high ranks, she's always there every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were actually talking about this a little bit before. You brought up the fact that she's toxic, and I would say maybe just a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like Dagr is kind of a necessary evil for Summoner Duels, because, okay, so there's a strategy right now that a lot of people are using where you just pop Duo Dagr's duo skill on turn 1 in Summoner Duels, and you can basically make a Congo line and rush a unit all the way in, get an attack in, and then Kanto them all the way back, because for whatever reason they thought it was a good idea to have Kanto interact with Pathfinder. But this strategy in particular is one of the easiest ways to get a quick match in Summoner Duels, so you don't have to spend too much time thinking, and overall, it's just a funner experience, I would say. No one wants to have a 5-hour chess match of a Summoner Duel game where you're thinking really long on your moves and the enemy is doing the same. I'd rather just bum rush them with Duo Dagr and just throw all my guys right in their face and then get some KOs, maybe trade some KOs here and there. And then, like I said earlier with Hatari Azura and Dorothea, if I'm trading with you, I can still come out on top when I have multiple units that can dance or dance multiple times. So that's the strategy that I've been going for, mostly in Summoner Duels R, where they can't veto me.
Yeah, totally. That's pretty much the strategy I've been using since the first week on SDR. It's definitely it's extremely powerful, but not only that, like when you have to play a ton of matches. I was talking to Joel from Phaeology, and we would be doing SDR for like 5 or 6 hours. And so you want to go as quickly as possible. You don't want to have to sit there and be on a match for like 30 or 40 minutes waiting for the person each time, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
if you can accelerate the match in any way possible, it's usually a good thing. And Duo Dagr is definitely the best unit at that.
Exactly. So yeah, when you said she was toxic, I'm like, yeah, she kind of is, but I'd rather it be toxic and fun than toxic and not fun, you know?
Oh yeah. If it was like a boring, completely boring game mode, then I think it would be like super dead, right? No one would want to play it if they have to spend an hour per match.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that pretty much sums it up. There's a couple more facets to her. Like, she's a green range unit, which is good because the #1 save unit is Hector, so she's got color advantage on him. She's a flying unit, but her B skill has null follow-up, so that's another good thing for her.
Right, yeah.
And then she also has, I believe it's based on how many blue buffs she has active, she can inflict the same debuff on the foe. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
So her combat, like, you think about all the things she can do with support, and then her combat potential is through the roof as well. She's a very good fighter. So there's not really a weakness to this character. I feel like she's just good at everything.
Yeah, that's the other thing about her duo skill too, is it gives those buffs. So all of a sudden you pop that, not only are you moving super fast across the map, you have all the buffs you need on Duo Dagr, so she can just destroy whatever she hits.
Yeah. You know, I've been contemplating giving her a close foil, or like close reversal or something, so like they can't even melee her at that point. Because if you think about it, once she has the buffs active, she is almost unkillable. It's her, like,
she's quite difficult, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a similar thing that I do with another unit we're going to talk about later, but having these range units that can counterattack and they can like beat most of the melee units in that matchup, I think is really strong for Summoner Duels, because the strategy is to run a far save unit, and then like you kind of have to run far save because of Yuri's existence, but the near save units are, I think, where most of the meta is shifting towards, because there's not really too many near save units that people are running in Summoner Duels right now. So like my strategy is to run range units that can also fight at close range, so I give them close counter and stuff.
That's actually really interesting because I've been doing a lot of research lately for SDS because I'm trying to like do well, and I've noticed that melee threats have become much more popular. I'm seeing a lot of like legendary Nanas and like Brave Olms and legendary Sigurds running around, and having a way to stop it would be actually a good strategy.
Yeah. Now, well, the bad thing is a lot of those are red, right? And Dagr is green.
True,
So-
yeah.
All right, but anyways, moving on to the next unit. Okay, so surprisingly, we have Ashe up next, and it's surprising because she was a free-to-play unit, right? So, like, I'm actually genuinely impressed that they released this free-to-play unit, Ashe, and she feels like a genuine top 10 unit overall. Like, counting all of the 5-star exclusives from banners and seasonals and legendaries and what have you. Despite us getting Ashe as the free cow waifu, I think she kind of is, like, actually a top 10 unit, for real. So, in terms of the melee matchup, she's really good. There's not too many melee units that can actually power through Ashe without other kinds of outside forces being taken into account. So she's a really good wall. And then on top of that, her jump effect is what sells her the most. So allies in 2 spaces can jump 2 spaces ahead of her, giving you all sorts of shenanigans and movement antics. You basically just set up Ashe as a beacon, throw her in front of the enemies, and then get your units safely behind her so you can start attacking the foes, and if they want to get to your other units, they got to go through Ashe at melee distance. You can also protect her from far with a far save unit, so there's not really too many ways to get through Ashe combined with a good far saver. And your other units are going to be able to take advantage of that jump, go in, and then get some attacks in.
Ashe is just amazing. Like, I'm actually surprised they gave us such, well, I'm not surprised, but they gave such an amazing unit for free. She's good at everything pretty much, which is weird as a free-to-play unit, but that teleport is some of the most powerful support you ever ask for in a unit. And then her weapon's actually amazing too. Like, it has the guaranteed follow-up, it has the tempo skill, right? So you can't inflict guard on her, or she can't like accelerate your special.
Mm-hmm.
And this just lets her be like one of those units who can do pretty much everything. She can do the support, but then she can also be a frontliner who can take on those melee fights. And if you build her with like a interesting build, you can even have her take some range fights where she can just take those hits. Obviously, she won't attack back, but just being able to survive is super good for a unit who is acting as that teleport beacon.
Right. I've also seen people give her distant counter too, so she can like still get a leg up on range units as well. Pretty good.
Yeah, she kills these things.
Yeah, she's a very versatile unit. I guess it's not really that surprising that she's free to play because we got Regan free to play as well, and I think Regan was the best free to play unit on her release, and she's still like one of the best units now. So
yeah, I had Regan up there. She was like one of the things I was kind of contemplating, like, wow, Regan's still this good, where I'd actually think about putting her like in the top 15 or top 20.
Yeah, I almost had Regan. There were a couple of units that felt kind of samey to me, so it's like Regan, Legendary Nana, Brave Olm, all of those like 3 mobility sword units that can hit really hard and then canto away or run away somehow. It kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, there's a lot of units that can actually do this, so I think the main priority right now should probably be on units that are unique and they can't really get mimicked in what they do. So things like Duo Chrom, Duo Dagr, Yuri, etc.
To an extent, yeah. I think it's always good to be unique and have unique effects because it will make it so that the unit lasts longer, right? They're going to be more different than everything else. And I think we've seen that historically, like with like Legendary Chrom or even Brave Lucina for a while. She was like very unique and everybody was using her. Now we have like Thor and stuff who kind of does the same thing, but uniqueness always makes the unit last longer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that Ashe has in spades with her jump effect. Actually, there is one other unit that does it, and that's the Summer Tana with her refine.
Oh, right.
But in that same regard, I mean, Tana is not even close to Ashe, because
no,
Tana, her combat potential, she's a ranged unit, and she can't do anything to Hector, so that's already bad news for her. And on top of that, like, she's not very tanky either, so it's very easy to get rid of her. Ashe is just more solid as a beacon unit, so you can throw her in, and you don't really have to worry about her too much. So I think Ashe definitely steals the show there.
Yeah, she's a great unit. Like, honestly, if you haven't invested in Ashe, I think it's one of the best investments you can make.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to the next unit. We have Brave Eirika. Okay, another unit that I think doesn't really need much introduction. she's been one of the most dominant forces in Summoner Duels since day one. Everyone just thought, oh, we just recently got this unit. She comes out of the box with everything she needs to succeed, so why not just run her and dominate everything? So Brave Eirika, you want to talk about crazy effects? I feel like she's the Fallen Edelgard cavalry unit where she's got all these really good effects built in. So her B skill has Canto 2. She gets a whole bunch of true damage when she triggers a special. She also gets a lot of healing with Surge Sparrow. I think she nullifies Guard as well. And then what really sells her is that she's effective against Armor and Cavalry, which are the two best effective types to have right now. So Eirika's really good. She's going to be very good for a long time. And I feel like she's probably the premier wall-breaking melee unit. I know that's kind of a stretch to say because there's so many good ones, but I think Brave Eirika is probably the most solid overall.
Yeah, I think Ephraim Dev was like, hey, I want another Brave Ephraim. So he made Brave Eirika into that. Like, he made her dress up like him, and then
Yeah.
they just gave her the most busted kit possible. Like, I don't think there's not very often where you want to tank Brave Eirika. Pretty much every time you say Brave Eirika, you're trying to stay out of her range because she just destroys whatever she touches. And with Swift Surge, she can just heal back up too. So it's just a deadly combo you never want to be anywhere near.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so actually what I've been doing lately is I took off the Menace skill and I gave her Pulse Smoke. So I can have her run in and melee somebody and then use Pulse Smoke to reset Hardy Fighter if they have Hector or whoever. And then after that, Yuri is free to just come in and blow people up.
That's very smart, honestly. That's a great choice because I think the Menace skill, like, it's good, but you're not always getting the effect of it. Sometimes they're just barely out of range and you're missing it. So
right.
Pulse Soak is going to be that guaranteed value you're going to get, and it's going to let you destroy their save unit as well.
Yeah, because the main way you do it is you run in with a melee unit first, because of course they're going to have a far saver because of Yuri, so you get rid of that, and then you pull back with Kanto. And then after you reset their specials with Pulse Smoke, then your range unit is free to go to town. And whoever they have as a far save unit, if they don't have Aegis ready right from the get-go, they're going to get jumped by whatever. Because these offensive units now are just... The offensive threats now are just comical. If you compare what we had from day one to like what we have now, it's just completely unfair. You look at Reinhardt. Reinhardt was so good because he was just a brave attacking mage. And nowadays, the brave attacking mages, they have full might on the brave weapon. They get attack and speed up 6 just because. They get -1 special trigger. We just saw on Ishtar, she has tempo as well just because. So it's like, when does it end, man? It's just, we're just stacking effects on effects now.
Gotta go back to the simple days of Reinhardt.
Yeah. All right, so the final shared unit that we have is going to be Ninja Corrin. So Ninja Corrin, she was on A Hero Rises, and I don't really think there's much that needs to be said about her. Everybody got a free copy on the house, which is awesome because she's one of the best. Player phase Brave unit. Brave Mage, by the way. She's green as well, so she's got color advantage on Hector and Edun. She has true damage on her Brave attacking weapon, which is kind of unfair if you think about it. There's not really any way to defend against that. So in a ideal situation, let's say you had Desperation on her and she hits 4 in a row, you're getting +7 true damage on all of those hits. So that's already just 28 true damage that they can't do anything about. I think that's where these brave weapons just start getting really overtuned. What do you think?
Yeah, they just took pretty much Reinhardt and like put him on super steroids, turned him into a waifu, and then gave him the best duo skill. And she's just stupid. Like, she can do so much, and not only is she pretty good in Summoner Duels, like, she can destroy anything that doesn't have the Hardy Fighter special up. In Ether Raids, you can just pretty much clear out a whole team with her and like Harmonica Zura or like Duo Peony. Like, she just annihilates things.
Yeah, there's not really too many things that are safe from her when she's player phasing, especially even the save units have a rough time. And I feel like I didn't bring up this unit, but both Ninja Corrin and the Duo Lysithea, I feel like those two units existing was the sole reason why the Hardy Fighter, Aegis, and Deflect Magic build became the go-to. Because there's like no way to tank them otherwise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, those first, like, I think it was like the first like 2 weeks of Summoner Duels, like everyone was like having fun, And then here comes Duo Corrin and Winter Lysithea, and like everyone's like, okay, we have to run Deflect Magic. We need Hardy Fighter. Everything just dies to them instantly.
Yeah.
They like literally changed the meta by themselves.
So if you want to talk about meta defining, I think these two kind of take the cake. I didn't bring up Lysithea because I think just by an edge, Corrin with the duo skill and also being targetable by Hatari Azura's duo skill makes her stand out a little bit more. But obviously Lysithea is stupid as well. They're kind of interchangeable, honestly, but I would just barely give the edge to Corrin.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about Lysithea is that she, like, without enough speed, if she gets like loses a speed check, then she kind of like doesn't do as much, right? She doesn't get the double hit like Duo Corrin guarantee does. But even then, against most save units, she's going to be able to do it, and she's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, even saying that, there's not many speed matchups that she loses either, so... Alright, so we covered basically all of the units that we had shared. Those were 8 units that I think... most people can agree with those 8. If you played Summoner Duels, you've seen the mode, you probably have a general idea of what people are doing and what works and what doesn't. So, those 8 I feel like aren't really arguable. Here's where things get interesting. So, I have Legendary Sigurd in my top 10 and Oblivion doesn't. Alright, confess. Why is that? You gotta come clean here.
I forgot. I had him on my list. I don't know what happened. I accidentally deleted him. But yeah, I did put him in my top 10 for some reason. But Legendary Sigurd definitely is a top 10 unit for sure. I definitely think so.
Yeah, can we just talk about how crazy this guy was when he came out? Like, how overtuned was he? So they gave us a cavalry unit with +1 movement for free, essentially. His special doesn't even need to be activated for him to get 1 movement off of it. And then he has -1 special trigger, so that brings his special Holy Knight Aura down to 1 hit. And when he procs that special, your entire team gets +1 movement. It's like, I don't even know what they were thinking. It's a circus when Legendary Sigurd is on the map.
Yeah, if you're talking about a unit who changed the meta, Legendary Sigurd is like the standout, right? Like he literally warped the whole Aether Raids meta around himself, like the second he came out. Like, it became so toxic that they had to introduce the safety fence because everyone was losing on turn 1. So, I mean, if that's happening, you can tell how powerful that unit really is.
Yeah, I think the safety fence is the biggest example of why Sigurd was too good, because if they had to create a structure that basically stops the enemy from even doing anything on turn 1, that kind of shows that getting wiped out on the first turn by the enemy's defense is really... when things start to get out of hand, and Sigurd was able to do that with the Pathfinder and the special procking and all the things that he can do. He was just way too good. I don't know what they were thinking for real. When they made this guy, they had no idea. Or maybe they did, I don't know. Maybe Sigurd Dev was like, okay, the cavalry god himself has to grace us with his broken nonsense.
Yeah, I think there has like a genealogy dev or something, because he was just like, okay, I just played genealogy again. Sigurd needs to be broken as he was in genealogy in Fae. And so they just went like totally absurd with him.
Yeah, well, if that's what they were going for, I kind of give them credit, because Sigurd kind of was like the best lord ever in Fire Emblem Heroes, so they kind of nailed it with that.
I was thinking, like, when he came out, I originally thought, like, oh, genealogy makes guaranteed. This is why they're releasing this unit. But obviously I was wrong, but that's how powerful he was.
Yeah. I feel like a genealogy remake would do pretty well at this point, because people are more familiar with the characters now thanks to Fae. So, like, if you didn't play it back in the day with the, like, ratchet translation that I had to play, you'll probably have a much better time playing it now. They'll probably they'll probably throw, like, a Reinhardt cameo in there. I could imagine if they did genealogy now, it would just be similar to what they did with Echoes and Gaiden, where Echoes is almost a completely new game. And they just took, like, a lot of the groundwork from Gaiden and just made it something else.
Yeah, that's what I imagine they would do, too. There's a lot of things that they wouldn't do now that they did back then.
Well, let's not get into that, but let's just say that Fire Emblem 4 was a sign of the times, okay? There's a lot of things in that story that would get the game canceled on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so my final unit in my top 10 is Eitri. I run her quite often. Whenever there's a map in Summoner Duels that isn't good for cavalry, I just run flyers, and Eitri is probably the best player phase flyer, I think. she's only weak to null follow-up, and her B skill is just Dragon's Wrath on crack. So she gets the damage reduction 30% from the foe's first hit, gives her 30% bonus damage, and then she also inflicts all stats -4 just for free. I mean, I don't know why that needed to be there, but okay. Then on top of that, she also, I think her weapon gives her, or inflicts attack and res -6 to the foe. Is that how it works?
It's either that or plus attack. I can't remember. Yeah, but it's pretty much the same thing.
It's similar to Solo, basically, her weapon effect. And then she gets a guaranteed follow-up, and she also has Kanto too, because why not? So, range unit with Kanto, with damage reduction. I've taken to running close counter, or if I had close foil, I'd give it to her. So she can actually be a hard wall against Eirika. Eirika comes in to attack her, and she actually loses that matchup, because you get the damage reduction and you counter attack with the true damage. So close counter or close foil or even close reversal A-Tree is one of the nuttiest range units you can run. And I also like to give her guidance as well, so I could kind of use her as a pivot herself, so I can jump in with other units and have them attack. I feel like she's almost like the ranged variant of Ashe when I play her the way that I play her, because I can send her in and I don't really have to worry about her too much. And then with guidance, I can have my other units jump in and attack. So that's the way that I play her, but I honestly think she is one of the best.
She was very close to making my top 10. She's one of those units I definitely underestimated when she came out. And the only reason why I even got to use her was because I was summoning for Thor and I got a whole bunch of copies of A-Tree instead. But she's just absurd. Like, she's so good in pretty much everything, especially in Summoner Duels, though. I was using her on my original team, and she can just go in and she hits so hard, and she can just take out pretty much everything. And then Kanto to safety like Yuri does. The best thing, I run Sturdy Impact on her. And it lets her just go into any save unit and just put a massive dent in them. So if she doesn't kill, like they're pretty much so crippled they can't do anything. And then she just backs up to safety.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking when they gave the Gremlin like Kanto too. Like,
yeah.
But I mean it made her into a phenomenal unit for sure.
I'll tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking the same thing she was when she did that little video with all the meme faces, right? But yeah. I mean, Sturdy Impact is also a good call on her, so she can like gain a lot more bulk when she's attacking. That's actually really good against save units if I think about it, because then they won't be able to kill her pretty much. And then she impacts them out of their follow-up, and she has a guaranteed follow-up, and she actually has workable speed with the -4 to all stats from her B skill, so she can get the jump on a lot of the save units that are slower.
You can actually stack her pretty effectively, and then she can pretty much double a majority of things, which is pretty good, as you do run into those like NFU units, or even the Hardy Fighter that cancels out like the guaranteed follow-up attack. But with enough speed, she can just double anyway and kill them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is like no arguments from me with A-Tree. Oblivion has her as an honorable mention, but I thought she was good enough to put in top 10, so I had her in there.
Oh yeah, she was definitely right there for me for the top 10.
All right, so that covers my top 10. Then we have Oblivion with 2 units that I don't have, and the first of which is Fallen Edelgard, everybody's favorite unit in the game. I mean, who's ready for this year's Fallen Battle where we get Fallen Edelgard, right? With
oh no, I hope not.
Double the amount of weapon effects.
They're gonna have a 3 hopes Fallen Edelgard.
Oh, for sure. Oh, totally. Why do you think they made Warriors 2 be 3 houses? Because they want to milk it more and create more Edelgards that they can put into Fae, right? That's exactly the reason.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, so Fallen Edelgard, I don't really need to explain this one. You all know she does a million things. She's really good. What sells her right now, I think as far as she goes on defense, like as a tank, she's certainly fallen on hard times, because the offensive threats now, it's like she's in a similar boat to Surtur, I feel. Like, remember when Surtur came out and he was almost unkillable at the time? You had to have very specific units that could actually kill Surtur. I feel like that's how it was with Fallen Edelgard when she came out. But then they went out of their way with all the following offensive units to give them things in their kit that would be able to beat her. So, Fallen Edelgard, she loses to practically every offensive unit that released after her, right?
Right, yeah.
Something like that. So, as far as defense is concerned, she's not really as big of a threat as she was when she came out, but What's going to make this unit never age out, I think, is her player phase potential, which a lot of people kind of underlook. So she can attack 3 times in one turn. She can take 3 actions. Her weapon, or I don't know if it's her weapon or her B skill that gives her the Gale Force effect. It's one of the two.
Weapon. It's a weapon.
Okay,
yeah.
So she gets it on the weapon, and then she also can run Gale Force as the special. So you can theoretically attack 3 times in a turn with this unit. She's really powerful, really devastating, and really tough to deal with. I mean, we talk about all these offensive units that can get through her, but if you're playing her in Summoner Duels and you get to a point where both units have taken some casualties on their team, and then one guy happens to have Fallen Edelgard left, and you're kind of running low on options, at that point, she can get to a level where you just can't do anything about her anymore. And once that happens, you're pretty much done. So I can totally see why she'd be in your top 10. Is there any particular reason other than that why she's top 10 for you?
Yeah, it's mostly just her player phase. Like, the first video I did was a Fallen Edelgard, like, Gale Force showcase. And I think that is where she's really the most powerful. I don't think you should really be relying on her to be, like, your far save unit or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But, like, in Summoner Duels, too, like, it depends, right? So if you have Flash of Steel, don't use Fallen Edelgard, in my opinion. But if there's not Flash of Steel, she can really get in there and just be, like, an Omni tank. You, like, buff her up with, like, Legendary Elliewood or, like, any other bonus doubler kind of things. And she can just get in people's face and just destroy units, like, consistently. And because she has that built-in Gale Force, she can just keep going without any support.
Right.
So I think she can be a very powerful unit. It does take some investment, obviously. But even so, like, there's not very many units who can do exactly what she can.
Yeah, how many units have 20 effects, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, Fallen Edelgard, we can laugh at her and clown that she's fallen on hard times, but she's still a force to be reckoned with for sure. In the right hands, she's a menace, and she's not something you want to see as the last unit on the enemy team. If you guys are like trading KOs with each other and then they have Fallen Edelgard left and you have whoever, odds are your last guy is probably not going to be able to take her. So Edelgard, her play... Oh, by the way, do you run Bold Fighter on her?
No, I've never tried that.
Okay, I saw somebody do that. They ran Bold Fighter. They took off Armored Wall, because I believe the only thing you really get out of Armored Wall is the damage reduction. So
yeah,
he took that off, and he was running Bold Fighter, so she can actually double attack, and she gets the special ramp, so she can ramp into Gale Force that way.
That sounds cool. I haven't tried that before. I might actually try that.
It's actually pretty smart. I tried it after someone showed it to me, and I was like, oh shit, this is kind of real. So yeah, so Bold Fighter Fallen Edelgard kind of works. I don't know. I still kind of like her with the damage reduction, though. It really helps a lot. So,
yeah, definitely. I was using her with Wings of Mercy, I think, on my Aether Raids team, just so I could have her teleport in and do 3 Gale Forces.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, in Aether Raids, too. Oh, my God. This unit... In Aether Raids, where you just move until all your units have no actions left, and she can move 3 space... Or she can take 3 actions per turn. She gets really nuts in there. Okay, so our final unit on Oblivion's top 10 is going to be Bride Catria. Is there really anything I need to say about her? I feel like a lot of these units speak for themselves, and you've seen them enough times, but Bride Catria, I think a lot of people underestimated her when we first saw her on her trailer, because, like, I just looked at her as the giving orders to everybody unit. I didn't really think too much about how triangle attack would actually come into play. But then after further testing and seeing all the shenanigans you can do with the triangle attack, I was like, oh, actually, this is kind of real.
I was in the same boat. I saw it and I was like, there's no way triangle attack is going to like be easy to pull off. And then I just underestimated how good formation buff is, so that you can actually keep units, 3 units around, so you can actually pop that off. And it just made her so strong. I didn't summon for her originally, and then the second I saw how powerful she was, I was like, okay, I gotta drop some orbs to pick her up for my Aether Raids defense team. And she's just phenomenal. Obviously, Elamine is there to shut her down in Asher season, but in the other season, she's amazing. And the reason why I really have her in my top 10 is because of Summoner Duels. She is so powerful in Summoner Duels. She gives you that mobility you desperately need, and she also gives you enough power to just smash those save units like they're nothing. So I think people definitely underestimate her still. And if you have her, go try her out in Summoner Duels, and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, You know, she's actually one of those units I don't think I've ever used in Summoner Duels, even though I probably should have. The way that I play in Summoner Duels, it doesn't really necessarily need her, because if I need someone to jump, I use Ash or Atri with guidance. But I mean, how easy do you find it setting up triangle attack in Summoner Duels?
It's actually a lot easier than I thought it was, because that's why I didn't want to use her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's gonna be kind of hard, but it's actually pretty easy on some maps, not on all maps. And the reason why I really started using her was because of Summoner Duels S, because you have to have 4 teams. And so I was like, okay, I have Ash in one team, you know, I have Duo Dagr in one team. I was like, I need somebody else who can facilitate that like teleportation, that movement. And so I tried Biocatria, and she works really well, especially if you have like a really powerful offensive unit like Yuri or Ascended Joshua even. She can just like let them shred through whatever's in front of them.
Huh, her with Ascended Joshua. That's something.
People underestimate like a lot, but he, with that fire sweep effect, like he can just get through anything pretty much. And he has the cooldown on his weapon, so he can get lethalities off, and you know, nothing's living through that pretty much.
Yeah, like you said, my main reservations with her is triangle attack seems kind of daunting to set up in Summoner Duels, but if it's consistent, I can totally see her being really effective in there. It's also like personal bias too. I've never had trouble fighting enemies that have Catria on their team, so like I kind of just wrote her off. But I mean, I guess I'd probably use her a little better than the people I was fighting. Not to throw shade or anything, but like, I don't know. Maybe I should give her a try.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. You should definitely give her a chance, even if you don't like use her in SDR. Just like try her out in a normal match.
Yeah. Okay, so that wraps up both of our top 10s, and we have just a couple of honorable mentions, so we're going to close off with that. We'll start with Oblivion first, since we talked about Atri already. She was on my top 10s. So Oblivion has Elamine as an honorable mention. Why is that?
So Elamine kind of is just like the ultimate support unit for Ether Raids. She makes it so that you can shut down things like Bridal or Time's Pulse or Tactics, pretty much anything that starts at the beginning of the turn. And while I don't think she's necessary by any means, it makes it so that Ether Raids is like even easier, right? Like you just put a save ball, you have Elamine, and she's the ultimate support. She does down all the toxic like effects, and she gives damage reduction and the defense and resistance buff. So I feel like she's the like that last cog that was put into Ether Raids that made it like so easy nowadays. She just kind of like trivialized the difficulty. So I think she is a very powerful unit and does deserve kind of like the recognition of not up 10, but up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Elamine is just eat glue the unit, I think, because they released her. She's so obviously released as a counter to Catria, because in Summoner Duels, or not Summoner Duels, in Aether Raids, Catria was one of the top units to run on your defense team. Set up a Catria ball with some kind of save unit so you could defend against player phasing, and then you just triangle attack on the player phase, and there's not really too many units that can tank that. I also felt like it was a necessary evil though, because save units are so powerful right now that there's not a lot of units that can actually power through them without triangle attack. So I was kind of okay with her. I didn't really have a problem with her, but I guess maybe Insys did, because they released Elamine almost entirely to stop her.
Yeah, I agree. I think they like saw it as a problem, and they're like, okay, here's a counter. It was pretty quick though, because Browcatcher was only out for like 7 months or something when she came out. So
yeah.
I guess they thought it was a big problem.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally, Oblivion Knight has Duo Ike as an honorable mention. I can't talk about this unit. I'm way too biased when it comes to Ike. I wanted Ike to be like the best unit in the game again, like what they did with Brave Ike's Refine, and then even though I would say Fallen Ike was never the best infantry sword unit, he always felt that way in Aether Raids when he came out, because the Dark Shrine was so popular, and the infantry school too at the time was really popular. So he could stat stack like crazy in there. I always preferred him over Maritza, even though I admit in a bubble Maritza is probably better. But like right now, we don't have that magical Ike unit that's dominating all the modes anymore, so it kind of makes me a little sad.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. Like, I always want Ike to be the best unit because Ike's my favorite character, so I'm super biased, obviously. But I agree, like, I wanted him to be more unique, kind of like how Duo Chrom or Duo Dagr or even like Harmonica Zura is, where like they have a very cool like niche that they can do something that other people can't. And Duo Ike is just essentially like he's another god sword in quotes. Like, but the thing
Yeah.
is, people I think underestimate two things about him. One, his duo skill, and two, his special acceleration and his weapon. These two things like actually make him pretty powerful. And I am biased, but in Summoner Duels, being able to turn off special is massive. And not only that, inflicting guard, right?
Yeah.
So you can turn off all the Yuris like with their lethalities. You can turn off the hardy fighters. The problem really is just, like making Ike be able to stand up as like his own unit and actually use him like in combat. He's kind of more of a support unit, which is kind of weird. And then the other thing, the special acceleration in his weapon. So the fact that the special acceleration happens before he attacks means that he gets the 2 before he attacks and the 1 also from attacking. So you can run like really powerful specials on him, and he can trigger them like on that first hit, which can a lot of times like stop enemies from actually being able to kill you because they can't get 2 hits in.
Right. Okay, so I actually don't have him, so I've never been able to test out how his weapon actually works. Would you be able to use stuff like blazing specials with his effect? Would they proc in time, or would they not?
No. So the way it works is like, if I've done this, the blazing special, you have to do 1 round of combat. And then once you do 1 round of combat, you can just constantly trigger it. But you can't like do it on the first initiation.
Oh, that sucks. That would have been kind of good.
Yeah, I was hoping that was going to work, but it didn't.
Yeah, so also Vital Astra, I guess. I don't know if you gave it to him, but does Vital Astra work with his thing? Do you get the damage reduction?
No.
Oh, so,
I'm not selling them very well right now.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of cucked him. Like,
yeah.
In my honest opinion, I feel like he could have gotten that -2 special trigger at the start of every attack he does, and that's probably what they needed to do with him. So he could just, like, pop off Radiant Aether on every single attack.
That would have been really strong.
Yeah, I think that's what he kind of needed, because they made him another null follow-up fast sword with damage reduction. His damage reduction is pretty good, though, because it's not a speed check. He just gets it. But he's also not good when he's by himself, so it's like, they gave him a very generous range with the allies in, 4 spaces, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he needs 3 allies in 4 spaces to get all of his stuff to go off, and that's pretty generous, but in Summoner Duels, if he's like one of your last units and you've taken a bunch of casualties, then you can get to a point where he can't use his effects as well.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with him, like 100%, is the need of allies around you. The thing is, the one thing he does really well, though, is like he gets those big specials off. So like you can get Radiant Aether off, right, really quick. Like you get it on that first hit, so you actually get the heal. But my favorite way to use him is offensively. So I like to run like Dragon Fang on him, and because he has such absurdly high attack, he can like take out like Brave Hector and stuff. It's kind of nuts. And he also isn't affected by guard because the special trigger is built into his weapon, so it goes before the attack.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like get some big specials off.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go. To me, like, he seems more of just a support with the duo skill, and then if you can get him to pop a unit, you go for it, I guess. But like,
yeah, I pretty much agree. That's pretty much how I've been using him. It's just like you could kind of use him as a frontliner, and then you use the duo skill, cripple the enemy team, take off their specials, and then the rest of your team usually does most of the work. But maybe Duike gets in there and kills like 1 or 2 units.
Right. But yeah, that being said, this game is all about movement. You could talk about how good null follow-up is and yada yada yada, but the strongest effect in this game is +1 movement. Any effect that gives you bonus mobility is the strongest thing. So stuff like Pathfinder, Legendary Sigurd, etc. I think like those are the effects where the game is headed, as opposed to Ike just being like a good brawler with 2 mobility and 1 attack range, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing they ever did was power creep movement last year with Legendary Sigurd and the Pathfinder skills. It really changed the fundamentals of the game, and it's just ridiculously powerful. Like I think anyone can attest to that. And I think this year they're kind of moving into like specials, right? Like they have a lot of units who are focused on specials, so like Duo Chrom, Harmonic Sonya, and now Duo Ike to an extent. And they're also giving out new specials that are inheritable, like Battle Astra. So I think that's what they're moving, and that's kind of a powerful combo, like high movement and special acceleration like that. So I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Right. Okay, so that covers Oblivion's honorable mentions. I've got 3 in here that are all different. Now, I guess we can kind of group these two together. So Fallen Dimitri and Summer Kata, even though there's not really much similarities between those two at all. See, the thing is, they're just these really powerful melee units that I think are very clutch to have in Summoner Duels right now, where every team is running a Far Saver because if you don't, you get busted by Yuri. So having the close range units that can attack and have Kanto possibly, and also just blow up whatever they hit, like Fallen Dimitri and Kata, I think they definitely are the standout melee threats for me. I have them over units like Nana and Regan and so on, even though Regan with her Kanto 3 is pretty nutty. I feel like Dimitri, he hits harder with the Ninja Naginata, and when you combo that with the Wind Sweep that he gets on the B skill, so he can hit 4 times, he's getting true damage potentially from that weapon, and he also has Kanto Rem +1, which is not something that infantry units often get. So I feel like Dimitri definitely solidifies his place in there. And then with Summer Kata, she's effective against the whole game and the kitchen sink. And then she also has the 2-range harmonic skill as well with the dance. The strongest harmonic skill in the game, I would say, for sure. Not really counting duo skills in that, but Summer Kata, she blows up whatever she hits. She has Kanto 2 built in. She's just really good. Dimitri's really good, so they stood out to me the most as far as melee units go, so that's why I had them as honorable mentions.
Yeah, I was definitely considering Fallen Dimitri too. I feel like he's that unit who kind of got slept on because of Fallen Elgard being like such a big unit. But he's like super powerful, and people like completely underestimate how much he can really do with that unique B skill he has with the sweep in it. He can just completely shred people and then get away, which is what is important, really. So yeah, I definitely was thinking about Fallen Dimitri. Like I think I had him like in top 15 probably. Like he's a very powerful unit.
Yeah, for me, what kind of undersold him when he came out was his weapon. His weapon just doesn't seem that good.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
Yeah, what is it? Just attack speed solo 3, and then he gets bonus damage if he can't do a follow-up?
Yes, yeah. It's like a big stat stick, essentially.
Yeah, but it's like, he's so fast, he's probably going to do a follow-up, so I don't know. Why hit the opponents once when you can hit them twice, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, they should have made him like... They didn't even give the cooldown reduction on the weapon either, which could have made him like really good at Gale Force.
Yeah,
he's, like,
exactly. Yeah, so
yeah.
His perf weapon kind of sucks, but luckily we have that Ninja Naginata, which is really damn good on him. And then Summer Kata.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people use that. I think she's like really good in Ether. That's why I like her, because you can do like kind of the like 8-action team where you just run in and then Summer Shida dances somebody and just keep taking out their entire team. But she's very powerful there. I don't know how I feel about her in Summoner Duels. She's kind of fragile, so sometimes she explodes. Even though she does have that effective damage, I feel like sometimes she needs that second hit, and then she just doesn't get it.
Yeah, so that's the one weakness to her. In terms of defense, she's not really as well protected as some of these other units. Like, Brave Eirika has built-in damage reduction, whereas Shida doesn't. So it's certainly a lot easier to get rid of her.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And that's why she was an honorable mention. And then finally, I have Legendary Claw, the juicy unit right here. Promise's favorite. I mean, this guy, he was unfair when he came out, and I feel like he hasn't dropped off any at all, even up to now, because you can player phase with him. He has the gravity effect built in, which is so strong. He gets 80% damage reduction on initiation, which carries through the enemy phase as well. So you couple the fact that he's fast as hell, and then he's getting 80% DR. He has built-in null follow-up. There's not really a unit that can kill him in one attack after he attacks somebody beforehand, I feel. So you could just have him attack, and then just have him stay there, and they can't do anything to really answer him in one action. So that's really powerful, and that's worked pretty effectively for me with him in Summoner Duels. He also bullies basically every save unit. There's not too many save units that can do anything against him. They might survive his attacks, but like, you're attacking them, you're resetting whatever special they may have, and then after that you Kanto whoever the save unit is around, or Gravity whoever the save unit is around, and then they can't really get rid of him either. So he's pretty useful. He's very good in also Aether Raids as well, where he can inflict the gravity and hide behind the fence with hit and run strats.
Oh, he's amazing still. I don't think he's fallen off that much at all. Like, I mean, Deadeye's become more prevalent, but other than that, like, he just destroys so many things. Like, he either kills something or he cripples it and gravities it. So it's super annoying to deal with. Whenever I see him in Ether Raids, when it's like Earth Season, I'm always mad because I know I'm gonna have to actually deal with like something. I don't have to just like, throw out my save unit and win, because he's gonna just survive and just sit there and just keep hitting your unit.
Yeah.
I haven't tried him in Summoner Duels, but he's definitely a powerhouse unit, and I don't know what they were thinking when they gave him that gravity. The gravity plus the damage reduction is just the best preference skills in the game.
Yeah, his B skill is definitely up there for sure. Fallen Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said when it's Earth Season, you're kind of like raging, but for me, when it's Earth Season, I'm just like excited to get to use him and make the fights easier. 'Cause I run him on offense myself. I don't really run him on defense, but he's super effective on defense teams as well.
I think he just had bonus season, and I was using him on offense, and it was really nice because I didn't have to deal with as much. Sometimes you struggle to get pots, and he can just gravity somebody, and then you just have like a free time grabbing the pots, which is always nice.
Yeah, or you can have him player phase, get a kill, and then assuming they have one unit left that's a melee unit, they can attack him and he'll live, so you can get the other pot.
Right, true. Yeah, true.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to use his effects to your benefit. He's pretty versatile. Like a lot of these units that we've talked about today, there's not really any unit that's a one-trick pony here, I feel. Maybe Yuri is, because, I mean, what he does is just so good that he can get away with it and not care about doing anything else. But I feel like a lot of the units we covered here are doing just so many things. That's what really sets them apart. They do unique things, but then on top of that, they're doing all these other things that are also very good. So like in the case of Ashe, she has the jump effect, which that alone would have been enough to make her usable and useful. But then on top of that, she's a really good fighter as well. Like things like that for me is what really dictated how my top 10 went.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat where when I was making mine, I was looking at like overlap to see like, okay, this unit's not only good at what they do normally, like Chrom, he's really good as a ranged threat, but he's also an amazing support. And when you see like those two things combined together, like any categories really, it tends to be like a really powerful unit.
That's pretty much my sentiments exactly. Those are the things that are going to keep these units relevant for longer when they do unique things and they're just good in general. As opposed to units that are... I hate to bring up Duo Ike here, but like he's... I mean, he's good, right? He's not a bad unit by any means. He's good, but he's just not good enough is what the problem is with him. So kind of a shame. But hey, man, that's going to wrap us up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this 1 hour ramble. We went on a little bit longer than I intended, but got to get the good commentary in there. And it's been a pleasure having you on, man. Oblivion, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun. I hope we can do this again.
Yeah, for sure. If you ever want me on a video, just send me a DM. I'm always down.
Absolutely.
All right, so if you haven't already, check out Oblivion's channel. There's going to be a link to it in the description of this video, and I'm also going to put a link to it at the end of this video. So definitely subscribe to the homie, give him some love. And that's going to wrap us up for tonight. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Take care, fellas, and I will catch y'all again on the flip side.
This has been Oblivion. Make sure to come check out my channel. It's a lot of fun, and thank you so much, Tasha, once again.